Harish Salve is now joining us, very much the man of the match. Mr. Salve, thank you so much for joining us live here at 9:30. You've got a big smile on your face, Mr. Salve, and I'm not surprised because I have to say, we all really think you're the man of the match today. Your arguments, the way you presented them, the way you... Every single one of those arguments accepted by the ICJ. So first of all, our congratulations. And
congratulate India, congratulate the government. It was a huge decision for the government to take to move the ICJ. You must now at least concede one thing, the secrecy with which we planned everything, the way we timed it. I mean, all this is, I say, salute. The External Affairs Minister was personally looking at every step. No emails were sent, everything was kept quiet. And that's how we had a little advantage when we moved the court.
Right, and I think, a lot of people are talking about the fact that you won such a major victory, for India. And of course, that 1 rupee thing keeps coming up. You're not even, you've done it just for the nation. So, that's also getting a lot of applause. That was completely
irrelevant. I thought Sushma ji got angry on somebody and she tweeted that out. So, it's a public duty any citizen of India would have done willingly and happily. So I don't think there's anything of a great moment there.
Okay, no one better than you, sir, to help us understand what exactly lies behind the order. So if you could just lay it out for us a little bit, and nobody better than you. What was it that we were arguing, and what is it that the court has now said? If you could just sort of explain that in words of one
what we are doing, and let's be very clear what we are not doing. This is not a court of appeal, unlike some people feel that we will be able to show he is innocent. That's not what this is for. This is an international court where we say that the procedure which Pakistan has adopted in arriving at this death sentence violates principles of the Vienna Convention, which is a multilateral treaty, and that has its own dispute resolution treaty, which is called the optional protocol, that has no reservations. There are 3 past instances where the International Court of Justice took a serious view of American violations of this treaty. But the advantage, in a manner of speaking, America has is its high credibility. So at the end, they said, all right, you take measures to make sure that the verdict is annulled and proper consular access is provided and things are resolved. In some cases, there was genuine confusion. For example, in American, if you catch somebody who is of German descent, you don't know, America being what it is, you don't know really know whether he's still a German or whether he has become an American. So in those situations, these kind of mess-ups happen. Now in India, it was clearly a foreign national by their own assertion. The moment you say he's an Indian spy means you say he's an Indian national. So if it's a foreign national whom you are trying, you cannot take away consular access because consular access makes your right of legal representation meaningful. Imagine yourself in military custody in a foreign land, hostile situation, incommunicado. What kind of legal defense will you run? How will you defend yourself? What is the meaning of such a trial? So it's not whether there is evidence or there is no evidence, but the manner in which this whole trial has been conducted, in our words, renders it farcical. What is the relief? The relief which we have asked for, inspired partly by certain past precedents, is what is called there's a Latin phrase we use, restitutio in integrum, which means complete restitution. Now, what is restitution? You breached my right the moment you arrested me and didn't call my counsel. So, rewind up to that point. So, annulment of the decision.
Okay.
And now, after which, where do we go? Now, we are running a point, and the concurring opinion of one of the judges picks up that point, which I thought we should run today. That even after the Vienna Convention, which is 63, the world has moved on, international law has evolved. We now have the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So we must read all this as one integrated jurisprudence. So when the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights says that there must be fair and free trial, there must be full legal representation, this becomes a dimension of that. Now, if there is an egregious violation of all these international law principles, Should not the matter come to an end, then the person set at liberty. I mean, he has suffered for 1 year. He's been on death row now. He would have been, by the time the case is decided, on death row for 2 years. So these are all new path-breaking cases, and let's see where we go. But this is what the broad remit of this case is.
So, sir, if I could then take it forward, because obviously what all of us here in India are asking is how can we get, get Mr. Kulbhushan Jadhav back to the country. So what all is it that the ICJ will now be, when they are saying that you have to wait for the final decision, and they seem to have said stay the execution until a final decision is reached.
Yes.
What will be the final decision that we will expect from them? And so what is it that we have to go back to Pakistan for?
Correct. So what we are asking for is restitution. Now, what extent is restitution depends on the facts of the case and depends on the state of jurisprudence. We are hoping to convince the ICJ, and I start by telling you this is an evolving jurisprudence, but then that has never deterred at least adventurous lawyers like me, because law has to move on, and unless you try, you get nowhere. So one option is to argue that such egregious violation of human rights must compel the man being released. He has suffered enough. That's one way of looking at it. The other is at least annul everything, get him proper legal representation, and then let him be tried in a manner which is acceptable in civilized society.
But in the second case, it's again, he's in a sense back at the mercy of Pakistani courts. And this was, of course, an outrageous kangaroo court with no representation.
That's clearly plan B. That's not plan A, Vikram.
Sorry?
Yeah, that's plan B. That's not plan A.
All right. So plan A is to try and just say that you should get him released because he's already suffered.
Whether we will be successful or not will require a considerable effort on our part, which we will put in. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
But I am satisfied today. All the points we made, prima facie, the court accepted today. So we think we are on the right track, and we have tuned in the sense that we are moving in the right direction. And ultimately, there is a power above all of us which governs the destiny of men. If it is in Kulbhushan's destiny to come back home, I'm sure he will.
All right, sir. Would you like to just share with us any thoughts, any anecdotes? Because I'm sure people are wondering what was it like when all of this was happening. I know it's going to embarrass you, but I'm going to keep coming back to that ₹1 fee that you were charging, while the Pakistani, I don't know how much he was charging, some very fat amount. So
there was an article in the Times about it. I don't know whether you know, the London Times.
That's exactly what I'm referring to. That's exactly what I'm referring to.
See, for me, this is not a commercial case. And when the External Affairs Minister called me and said, is there any remedy? Actually, your channel started this problem, because in one of my interviews on your channel, I said that India should explore the ICJ option. I think somebody picked it up from there. So the External Affairs Minister called me and said, give me 2 days' time. And this was actually, now I can tell you honestly, this was in the middle of April. And I have a sort of a busy diary with a few commitments here and there. And I had to sort of squeeze time in between for everything to get all the papers ready. Before I left India, all the paperwork was done. It was ready. We were waiting. There was some efforts which we were trying to make to see if we could find, because you see, jumping to the ICJ also, if he had made a false start, he would have been where Pakistan is today, with everybody saying, oh my God, India, jumped. So it was a huge responsibility, and we had to time it perfectly. Sushma ji led from the front. We decided finally that we will lodge it on the 8th morning. And she requested me. I went down to The Hague. I met the registrar. I convinced him of the urgency, and we were very happy. Within 2 days, President Ronnie Abraham passed that first order, and he gave us 15th.